Okay, so what's really important of this section is the proportion stated in this box, okay? This is something that you're just going to have to know, and there's not really any way around it, okay? So, I mean, it's going to be on the board, but you should be able to think of this proportion off the top of your head, okay? Because this is going to be how we solve it. So what this proportion means is that we're taking a population, and in this case, what we're talking about is mostly animals, okay? And we're trying to estimate the population size of that animal in some specific area, okay? So read number 1 for me. So I want you to read number 1 and underline anything you think is important or highlight it, okay? So pause, read it, and underline anything you think is important. All right, so in this case, for all of these questions, we're always going to put population estimate as X. That's always going to be our X value, okay? So we're going to set up a proportion where, given the information below, we can fill it in. So the first thing I underlined is they tagged and released 20 lions. So figuring out where that goes, tagged and released. So it says tagged and released right here. So the total number they tagged and released should go on the left side in the numerator. So they tagged and released 20. So that's going to go here. The next part is that they found 160 lions, or they counted 160 lions. So that's going on the left side in the denominator. Of those counted, 8 were tagged. Of those 160, 8 were tagged. Okay, so that goes here. And then again, we always solve for the best estimate, population estimate. Okay, so now we cross multiply. So we do 8 times x, which is 8x, and then do 160 times 20. So do 160 times 20, which should give you 3,200. Solve for x by dividing both sides by 8. And you should get x equals 400. Now, we're not done yet. We need to label. So that's 400 lions. Okay, so that's our actual answer, 400 lions. So again, we underlined important information. The problem tells you where it goes in the proportion, and then you just have to solve it. Let's do one more together. So read number 2. And try to write your proportion. All right, so here should be your proportion. So they marked and released 45 cows. So that's why 45 is here. Marked is the same thing as tagged, okay? As long as you see a number and released, that tells you that that's this number here, okay? Then the next day, they recounted how many cows they saw. So the total number of counted was 150. Of those 150, 15 of them had marks, or 15 were tagged. So that's why that goes in the numerator, okay? Now we can cross multiply and solve. Cross multiply and solve, okay? So we do 15x equals 45 times 150, which is 6,750. And then divide both sides by 15. And we get x equals 450. And remember, we need to label that answer. So 450 cows. God, this is so much lag. Okay. So I want you to try number 3 on your own. So work on number 3 on your own. Pause and do it. And then undo it after you pause. All right, so hopefully you got 234 blue sharks. 234 blue sharks. All right, let's look at the next page. Let's look at the back of this. So we are given this table. We want to estimate the deer population for each year. Okay, so we're using the same proportion, but now we're just given a table. And the table kind of makes it a little easier here because it tells us the total deer, which the total deer counted, which goes in the denominator. It tells us of the counted, how many were marked, which is in the numerator. And then it tells us how many deer before were marked and released. Okay, so then all we need to do is find the estimate. Okay, so we're really just setting up proportions all the same way. So let's look at year one. Okay? So year one has of number marked counted 65. Okay, so we do 65 over the total number of counted, which is this number, 1173, equals the total number of marked, which is 101, over the estimated population. Okay. 65 over 1,173 equals 101 over x. And then you cross multiply and solve. So when we cross multiply, we should get 65x and 118473. So all of these numbers are going to be pretty big, okay? So it's okay if you're getting some pretty big numbers. And when you solve that, you should get 1823, and don't forget to label that it's deers. Okay? Should we do one more together? Let's do one more together. So looking at year two. So we have marked and counted over total counted. So 42 over 1017 equals the total number of marked over the estimated population. Okay, so again, we cross multiply and then solve. So we get 42x equals whatever 1017 times 83 is, which should be 84,411. And then when you solve for x, you should get 2010 deers. All right. I want you to do all the way up to year 6. So I want you to do 3, 4, 5, and 6 for me. Okay, so pause and do 3, 4, 5, and 6. Year 3, I'm going to write out the proportion. The last 3, I'm just going to write out the answers. All right. So for number 3, you should get 2,273 deers. For number 4, 2,048 deers. For number 5, 2,110. And the last one, 1,871 deers. So now your homework is to finish up this table and do 7, 8, and 9. So do these last 3 years is your homework, okay? And that's due on March 2nd.